civil society's work, and also in policy work. We have to pull it all together. So it's great to be here with you. Thank you, Queen Mother, Warrior Sister, Dr. Chen, for having me on this program, celebrating Caribbean Heritage Month on this very special, auspicious occasion of celebrating also our Maroon, the 14th anniversary of the Maroon Festival, which is taking place right now in Charlestown. It's happening right now in Charleston, Portland. Oh my God, Jamaica. I mean, I couldn't be more blessed to have this opportunity to share some love, some thoughts, sending kindred spirits to our Gamma Queen Gloria, who blessed us when we were recently there. I think it was about 2 weeks ago. We were there on the occasion of the CSA, Caribbean Studies Association annual conference, and we visited Charleston, and were in the holy presence of the Queen Mother, Gamma Gloria herself. And I had an experience, a life-changing, transformational experience in the river, and reconnected with the ancestors, and heard all of the things that we've been trying to promote. I heard and I saw it manifesting. And I'm just so happy to have this opportunity to, celebrate from a distance with our brothers and sisters right now in Jamaica, celebrating that I think it's the 8th.
The 14th, actually. It's the 14th. I said we had a whole opportunity to look at, it's the 8th anniversary of her installment as a Gama. And they did that observance, celebration, commemoration alongside inducting, as part of her court, several other women who are the workers, the women that usually are unrecognized, right, from her community. And I think it was very powerful to have that kind of a insight as a Gama. And there's very few women in this hemisphere, much less on the earth, that are granted that initiation, that induction, that recognition, that acknowledgement, that acceptance as a Gama, because that's usually reserved for men. And because of her work through her efforts within the Indigenous Maroon community in Charlestown, Jamaica, and her connections with, I should say her linkages more accurately, with other Indigenous Maroon ancestral African persons, and just holding her throne well, and being with a stool that is grounded in that indigeneity, that sovereign vibration amongst the Maroon. There was the request and the direction through other Gama from within the Americas to install her. And I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge the Honorable, Her Excellency, Ambassador Dr. Fidelia Gallon, who is currently serving as the Republic of Suriname's ambassador to the Republic of Ghana. And I am very comfortable in saying that it's through that Maroon Women's Council out of Suriname, thousands of women and their families, I want to make sure that we include that, their men and their families, strong, that facilitate these types of international Maroon, sovereign, indigenous reconnections, these relinkages. And the fact that this year is represented as the 8th anniversary of Gama Gloria's installment, and it's linked to their 14th anniversary, of hosting these Indigenous Maroon Town observances, and they notice that it's a conference and a festival. So they're not just fetting, they're not just partying for the sake of partying. They're adding that intellectual wisdom, that spiritual linkage, and as well adding the cultural creatives and of course the entrepreneurial technologies that facilitate their ability to do this. Like, I am elated, like elated from the whole experience, and it's an honor and a privilege for us to be able to see how to bring this type of work forward, so I'm excited to even be able to have this conversation with you, Honorable Ambassador Okama, because there's a lot that you do. And when we say, Caribbean American heritage, this is all of it. When we say Caribbean American, people thought that only meant the 48 contiguous US and the Caribbean ties. When we say Caribbean America, we mean from North Pole, South Pole, West Side. How about that? all of the Americans.
Absolutely. And when you made a point of the integration of the program, it's not just, it's a conference, it's a festival, it's an integration of several sectors, several factors that hope to tell the story of the paradigm shift that is taking place. And right. I like to use that term because when we fet, we're telling the story of our livelihood, of our lifestyle, of who we are as a vibrant set of humans in our different spaces. And, being the Caribbean American Heritage Month, every fet that I have seen when I lived in the Caribbean and when I interact with Caribbean people, they're telling the story of how they came to being people of African descent and how that runs through our DNA. It is in our blood. And when we show up, when we do anything, that is what defines us, first and foremost. So whether it's through effect that we're telling that story, we want it to be known as something that is integral to our heritage, our culture. And that is what defines us as vibrant human beings. And then when we go into the conferencing part of it now, it's so interesting because we like to look at it as the need to now take it from, showing and telling to actually documenting. And in documenting, owning the intellectual property around what we're documenting about our culture and our heritage. Right. And I am so happy that, the Caribbean Studies Association is bringing us all together in this space, because we can support what small groups are doing from Charlestown, in Portland, to St. Croix, Virgin Islands,
Edmonton, Canada,
Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, because you know what? 2 days ago, on Tuesday, we celebrated the National Indigenous Peoples Day here. The government of Canada has recognized and designated June 22nd as June 22nd, 21st as Indigenous Peoples Day.
Wow, and that's major to know.
It is incredible to see the amount of work and effort that is being put towards this part of our work here. And I'm privileged to be here at this space and time, and to recently have been in Jamaica, where we're celebrating the anniversary of 8th year anniversary of the entombment of Mama Gloria for us, and celebrating 14 years of the whole establishment. And I hope and believe that we can, consolidate this. We can bring everyone together to celebrate this Heritage Month by coming up with concrete ideas that we can, or activities that we can, implement on a monthly basis, moving forward between all of us, like minds, and connecting it to the work, scholarly work that the Caribbean Studies Association is embarking upon. So thank you for having me here with you in this space, and sending love and blessings to Sister Sharon, Ambassador Empress Sharon Oshun Chambers, who I know is at the midst of all of this happenings in Mama Gama's palace, shrine in Charlestown, and Empress Isis, who I heard on the radio yesterday, celebrating and as part of the whole commemoration, speaking herself from Kingston, Jamaica yesterday. And I understand that the Vice President of Suriname sent regards and sent a very powerful message as part of the celebrations happening there. I only wish I could be there, but I want to use this opportunity
we
to
know.
just say my spirit, everything is there.
In the water, walking up the stairs, down the road, in the center, by the stage, right? I think everyone is really pushing that same vibration. I want to make sure that I share a very resounding gratefulness for what our illustrious ambassador, sister queen, grandmother, Sharon Oshun Paris Chambers, and her beloved king man, Baba Theo Chambers, made that whole experience in Jamaica flow with a form of hospitality, a form of professionalism, a form of genuine, compassionate care. And I want to use the right term, not just any kind of love, right? It was a cultivated, nurturing, nourishing, family, communal, authentic type of love. I need to highlight that. That was afforded to us while we were there. So yes, we were there with the focus on the intellectual, academic efforts, work for CSA 2022, hosted by UWI Jamaica. And we had an opportunity to have that actually augmented and strengthened on such a powerfully sacred and spiritual space that it just extended beyond and beyond, whether through the efforts of the Chambers and enterprise, through Pan-Carib solutions, in terms of their entrepreneurial business activities that bring together entrepreneurship, economic development, through the tourism industry rather, as well as their spiritual educational work around the Temple of Inner Peace. And that's something that came forward. I'd like to also make sure that I remember that while this is the 14th annual International Charlestown Maroon Conference and Festival, that they're hosting it started from the 21st. Again, they did a whole piece coming into the summer solstice, moving in those powerful spaces and places, with music and dance and song and spoken word and word sound power and chant and hesi and prayers to really strengthen a vibration that heals all of Jamaica, all of the Caribbean, all of the Americas and the world. And I need to highlight that's what is coming forth, and I'll say why I'm getting to that. So while this is happening in that space that we may think is a microcosm of Charlestown, Portland, Jamaica, right? We're also highlighting and supporting that their theme for this year is Sankofa and the healing of Indigenous Maroon peoples, lands, and cultures. I need that to simmer for all of our viewers and listeners. I'm going to read it again. Sankofa and the healing of indigenous Maroon peoples, lands, and cultures. And again, when we speak of Sankofa, it's not just go back and fetch it, but it's going back or returning to the most positive, highest manifestation of our past, extrapolating that the best and bringing that into the future. I need to highlight that because some persons just think it just means go so and just fetch it. It's not just fetching. There's an activation process that comes with Sankofa. And I think it's important that we navigate that in their theme. They've included a very powerful word, very touching to I and I anyway, healing of indigenous Maroons people, lands, and cultures. That's a serious theme to have as a conference linked to a festival. And I see that our beloved sister Rabia Nasir is tuning in and putting wonderful posts in our social media pages.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I'm grateful that she tuned in, and I'm just grateful that she was even listening and sharing with us. So we want to, and that's all the way in Pakistan. So we like persons to know when we're speaking and we're talking about our heritage and our culture and our nuances and our education and all of our fusion of works here, right? That we're speaking of it from a space that does incorporate the culture, healing, arts, technology, spirituality, technology, education, all of that, edification, all of that, and that's why it's so beautiful to be able to share this. While our intention was to be able to have some live feed, and we're hoping if anyone does have an opportunity to get a solid enough signal to just give us a snippet and tune in, we would be so elated. And I keep, I'm like, really, like, tune in, come in the Zoom room, because we know that, we're speaking from Canada, St. Croix, Virgin Islands, have persons watching from Pakistan and other spaces. And we also have our sisters and brothers that are hosting this 14th annual International Maroon Indigenous Conference and Festival in Charlestown. So I'm like, yay! That's how we see these things, and that's part of the next layer. It's powerful for us here to see that this is we're manifesting now. What you just shared in terms of Canada, I wasn't as familiar with them. I remember like Canada Day, and I knew that July was really the time that was highlighted for activities around Canadian history and culture and so forth. And it is wonderful to know that there has been an official designation for Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada. That is just really wonderful news to hear. So I know that you were all up in it. So I can only imagine how you're going to bring that into what's coming forth with the events that you're going to be hosting later on in the month of July. So I'm very excited about that, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more with that. As we're on air, we're also reaching out to our sisters and brothers that are in Jamaica, so that those that can share a voice, sound, power of any sort, that we can have them share with us to the best of our ability. And we're looking forward to getting some updates in terms of what is really taking place today. We know that today it was a tribute to the ancestral quo. And again, this is another opportunity where we get to see how our sisters and brothers bring the ancestral freedom fighters, the ancestral voices that come out of those spaces to the forefront. A lot of times persons do not get an opportunity to learn about anything. They may only go to perhaps Naganani and then the various national heroes in Jamaica, when in actuality, there are those that come earlier than them. And so this is another opportune time for us to learn as much as we can, as deeply as we can, about what's taking place in these indigenous Maroon spaces in the Americas. And from those persons that have original ties, some will go to Taino, some will say Kahina or Kalinago, some will go like here, we can go into the Igneri, the Siboney, you know, we go like back far, like before the discovery of Providence and before even the Dark Ages, there was a whole migration. You know, migration is not new to our indigenous people. And coming out of through Africa and in those spaces of time where what we see as the expanse of the Atlantic might not have been such an expanse like it is now, it gives us an opportunity to really bring truth to power regarding how we honor these observances like Caribbean American Heritage, Indigenous Peoples Day in Canada, international observances for the Charlestown Indigenous Maroon Nation, and much, much more, you know, the Maroon Women's Council in Suriname. And you see how this can go on and on and on everywhere. You know, we have a Maroon Sanctuary Lands movement and efforts that have been preserving land. While we do not have persons that are in settlements or encampments there any longer, we know where the land resides and we can see the footprints of what exists there. And we've had, you know, archaeological and anthropological research to support all of these sacred indigenous, Maroon, ancestral African, global spaces, right? So we're really excited about that. So tell us a little bit about what's coming up in Canada as because we're getting to the closure of Caribbean American Heritage Month, which is a designation for the entire month of June. And it's important for persons that don't know anything about this. I encourage you to go to Caribbean American Heritage Month.org, because there you can find out a little bit more about this whole background piece. I think it's important for people to just go to certain sites, and that way you can even go to the census.gov site and you can learn a little bit more. But if you go to Caribbean American Month.org, you'll be able to learn a little bit about the observances for the entire month of June that have been in place, as I said, initiated in the 1990s, formalized with an actual congressional bill, initiated 2004, manifested in February 2005. And I think it's important for persons to just know that. I want to just share this part. Expressing the sense of Congress that there should be established a Caribbean American Heritage Month. That's how it was introduced. And there were a number of supporters across the board in terms of members of Congress. And there's a piece that really resonates with me. I don't want to read the entirety. I encourage persons to just, again, Caribbean American Month.org. And that way you can see the congressional bill. You can see what were the activities that led up to that. You can learn more about the Institute of Caribbean Studies led by Dr. Claire Nelson and her board of trustees. You can also find out a little bit more about how this connects to the Caribbean Studies Association, to the Society of Caribbean Studies, and a host of other Caribbean studies, Caribbean focused, Caribbean centered initiatives and activities. You can see how CARICOM stays engaged and involved. You can learn more about some of the non-governmental organizations and civil society networks that are linked. But I just wanted to read this beginning portion. Whereas people of Caribbean heritage are found in every state of the Union, whereas from the Caribbean region to the American colonies began as early as 1619 with the arrival of indentured workers in Jamestown, Virginia. Notice the language. Whereas during the 17th, 18th, and 19th centuries, a significant number of slaves from the Caribbean region were brought to the United States. Whereas since 1820, millions of people have emigrated from the Caribbean region to the United States. Whereas much like the United States, the countries of the Caribbean faced obstacles of slavery and colonialism and struggled for independence. Whereas also like the United States, the people of the Caribbean region have diverse racial, cultural, and religious backgrounds. And I just want to pause there because it gets deep. Whereas the independence movements in many countries in the Caribbean during the 1960s and the consequential establishment of independent democratic countries in the Caribbean strengthened ties between the region and the United States. And then it goes on and it starts naming people. And then it goes on and gives examples of several significant entities that contributed so much to the American spaces. And when we say American spaces, we're speaking, yes, the 48 contiguous, but also Canada, also those separate territories that are not connected to the 48 contiguous United States, inclusive of the Caribbean, inclusive of Central America, inclusive of South America, and all the different spaces that people tend to overlook, which ties us to the world. And it's all inside of this congressional bill that initiated the importance of establishing a Caribbean American Heritage Month, which is now in full flow, according to the congressional record, every June, annually, not biannually, every June. That's what is being done and commemorated to some, celebrated to others, observed to many, right? I think it's really important that we keep that in the forefront. So with that, please share with us some updates of all things Canada.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just continuing where you left off, Dr. Chan, whereas the organization, the Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance, first founded in St. Martin, the Caribbean, and registered in Nigeria for the Africa region. And in the process of being registered here in Canada, the organization provides a trilateral channel for the positive reconnections of people of African descent, wherever they may be, for the diasporans, for the Caribbeans, for the Americans, for the Asians, for the Europeans who are in support of the positive reconnections with the homeland, with the motherland. Whereas this organization is striving to ensure that we support everybody who is in line with this movement. I call it a movement because we all need to be aware. We are all aware, but we need to be further aware of the actions, little bits of actions, the conversations and the policies taking place to ensure that we contribute to the development of our people in the Caribbean, in the Americas, but connecting that back to the homeland. So whereas my organization, and as the founder, the visionary, and the president of the organization, we're doing all of this in celebration of the ongoing work for the recognition, for the development, and for justice. And this is where it connects so intricately with the healing process that is taking place through the celebration of the Caribbean Heritage Month. We have this platform, we have this organization, and we are so happy to link it to what the Caribbean Studies Association is doing. And also today speaking to you as the vice president of this association. I mean, my heart is
excited.
full
well, that's
to work with you.
I am so grateful to have a vice president that I know is willing to do whatever is required to really let the Caribbean Studies Association and all of our alliances and all of our entities and interests really be built up. That's part of why I'm very, very pleased that you were even willing to step out. Not everyone is comfortable coming into these positions of leadership, and not everyone is comfortable or willing to do the research, because it does take some research, and it's not like you're not seasoned. You've been program chair, you've worked with the ECs at CSA, you've worked with several presidents in CSA, so you are coming with a breadth of and a wealth of knowledge and wise counsel and passion. And see, that's the other piece when we speak of these things, when we're celebrating and commemorating Caribbean American heritage all the time, because we do it 365, 24/7, every squinet. Not everyone is on that plane. And I say plane, or maybe I should be saying on that laser, because you have to be laser focused to be comfortable to integrate things that are, the Caribbean is really at the center of human civilization in many respects. And that grounding and that linkage that it has to Africa, that grounding and the linkage it has to places like India and Khmer and other parts of Eurasia and the Pacific Islands. And notice how we went around the zone and we come right back around and come into the Americas, Central, South America, and all of the Caribbean. Sometimes when we look at a map, we forget that it might look like, unconnected islands, but they're really connected. They're really linked, and they're really grounded, and they are parts that have come off from the Earth's core that are connected to larger continental bodies. And so that's why I'm always grateful when you are doing the different programs that you have been so gracious to include me in, while it's persons that are from all different parts of the African continent, from out in, India, Pakistan, Europe, Canada, different parts of the Americas. You're able to, through Achar, really get to the grounding of how we add that socioeconomic, entrepreneurial, legislative, judicial, executive policy element inside of there. And that is something that I'm looking forward, as we traverse through this really engaging year within CSA with these alliances and linkages that we have to other international bodies that help to lift us up, and the organizations that we work with, the associations that we serve. And that's part of the piece that's always exciting for me. And, that's why I wanted to at least make sure that we had an observance, in the context of celebrating with our sisters and brothers. We really desire to be in Charlestown, Jamaica right now. We just need people to know, just in case you're not, why they having this show for? How come they not? Because we really, if there was a way, I remember when they were telling us, I remember when the Colonel, I'm going to say, I believe it was Colonel, I'm going to call her Hope, that she made
Colonel
this
Shop.
Colonel
Shop, yeah.
Shop, there we go. And to see, the reason Hope keeps coming up in my head is because she gave me such a wonderful rendition of what to expect during their conference and festival, that in my mind, I just was affirming that we were going to be able to be present. Like we were going to go back to where we reside, and then we were going to navigate some miraculous opportunities so that we could get her. We know what we went through to get there the first time. So we were working in that vein to bring it again. And I'm so grateful that Gama Gloria's, Her Excellency Gama Gloria's beloved king husband, Gama Akinsanya, was kind enough, like he, as much as he could get a signal, he was like going to the river trying to get a signal to show us something. So I encourage persons to look for Gama, Gama, Akinsanya, Akinsanya, on Facebook, and you should be able to see at least those pieces of what they did on the 21st, which was connected to a Kahina, Indigenous, Maroon exchange and vibration, as well as what they did, around the solstice, what they've shared yesterday with the 8th anniversary of Her Excellency Gama Gloria's installment and the initiatory vibration that took place with that. And then today around the ancestral quarrel and helping people to recognize, when we speak of these ancestral ceremonies, this isn't just like Fet. This is like the grounding upon which Fet, festival, all of that is based. Like, what is the real spiritual essence and purpose of why people are doing this particular kind of work around Caribbean heritage Indigenous heritage, Maroon heritage, and bringing that forward. And I am so elated to even have been in that space. So that's why Sister Queen Ambassador Okama and I are sitting here going, we're in Charlestown spiritually.
We are indeed. I mean, I feel the vibration, and I follow on a daily basis what's happening. There are still activities happening, tomorrow and Saturday, culminating in Sundays. I think as the bonfire, where everything is blessed and closed off for another year, and so in that spirit, and just linking to what is coming up that people should be excited about. I know you mentioned already about the work of the Temple of Healing.
Of Inner Peace, yes.
Of Inner Peace, managed by our Queen Sister Sharon Oshun Chambers and her husband Theo Chambers, who are currently there participating, coordinating this whole. So, let's send them some love and some blessings. I know I look forward to Theo, being here in Canada, coming to Canada. He has agreed to come down with you and anyone else who will be able to join us to share the experience of what is happening there in Jamaica with the anniversary and the commemoration, the conference, and also to launch his book.
Want us to. But you lean it to the right. Wait. There we go. It's right there.
All right. Okay. So it's Theoism to critical thinking for the open-minded. And this book and other books that he has written, he's going to be sharing, reading chapters from it. And I promised when I met him and I got a signed copy of this book, I was going to do whatever it took for us to make sure as many institutions of higher learning had copies of this book in whatever space I am in. And I want us to think a little bit about that because one of our challenges in Caribbean studies, the association itself has been, publications and owning the intellectual property of that publication. And I keep talking about this because as scholars and a group of scholars in that academy, we need to support work that is written and authored by our people who are still here with us. We honor and celebrate our ancestors, but it's even more integral to where we want to go by recognizing those that are here and making all of the effort to ensure that our history is documented, our knowledge is documented, we're sharing it through storytelling, but more importantly, it's being documented, and that these books will educate our future generations, and it will go down in the history as body of work that is contributed to by our own people. And when I talk about our own people, I'm talking about the Black people of African descent, of the diasporans. So Theo, I celebrate you, and I look forward to you being here with Queen Mother's sister, blessed Ambassador Dr. Chen, who is hopefully going to be here with us next month. And when I talk about next month, what is happening, it is really a celebration of inclusion, diversity inclusion for the equitable development of our people. The one of the communities here, Central Alberta, Lacombe, the government recognized the work that we are doing and invited us to be part of the committee to celebrate Lacombe Days. The Comb Days is an event that happens on an annual basis, but in the last 2 years, it hasn't been done because of the COVID pandemic and the effect. We're coming out for the first time after 3 years, and they invited Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance to help bring the Black people out to participate in this program. And that is what I'm talking about. Wherever we are, whatever we're doing, we got to be intentional about it. We got to know our why. What is the purpose of what we're doing? And therefore, how do we engage with the community at large or whatever networks are available for us to ensure that what we engage in is going to be sustainable and it's going to be amplified. And this is how it's happening. So we're going to have from July 15th to the 17th, basically a celebration of diversity, inclusion, a celebration of development opportunities for our people. And we're going to have, participate in the parade. We're going to have a mini summit. We're going to have, food, music, dance. We have one of the best bands here, made up of people led by a brother from Grenada with a sister from St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and players from all over the Americas and the Caribbean. And we're going to have our African sisters as well and brothers, and of course, Canadians coming together to make this a very inclusive program. So I'm looking forward to having you here. Those who can't be here physically, Sister Queen Mother Warrior ChenziRa herself, Dr. Chen, is going to be here with us, and in the spirit of Sankofa, will bless us and provide a platform for the healing process to continue. And those who cannot be here with us physically, we hope and pray that you will be able to participate online so that you see what we're talking about, the equitable development and the recognition of our people's contribution to this whole process. The paradigm shift has already taken place. It's happening. And all we got to do is just be collective and be open-minded, document it, tell it, and make sure it's enshrined in the history books, from Black History Month to African Heritage Month to Caribbean Heritage Month to emancipation period coming up in the different Caribbean spaces. It is our time. It is our time. We're making it happen, and collectively, this is how we're going to win this. All right. So thank you so much. Happy celebrations, brothers and sisters. Gamma, Mama, baby, Gamma. When she hears this too, I remember that, she says it's her mom who calls her that, only somebody who is really close to her. So baby Gloria, baby Gamma, Mama Gamma, warrior sister, blessed scholar. She's a scholar herself. I think we got to remember this.
And see,
she is a scholar herself, and she may not have the time to write it. She may not have the time to write it. She's telling. Right. She's telling it through, the activities she's doing now.
Right. And as a griot.
Exactly. And this is what associations like the Caribbean Studies have to recognize the importance of this body of work. Yes, and it should link our young scholars, mentees, with people like that, so they can write their stories and publish works on important personalities like that. I rest my case. Thank you very much.
Well, it's like, and the gavel, ding, ding. Okay. So it's, well, you said it so eloquently that, and our intention was not to hold people long for this particular time. We're at the top of the hour. We said that we would start and shift, move accordingly. Sometimes we get together and it's just an opportunity for us to highlight and celebrate so many different layers. And again, we're sending our well wishes and our spiritual congratulations, a life of congratulations to those that are making this 14th annual International Charlestown Maroon Conference and Festival a success. Really sending our most respectful, most humble greetings to Her Excellency Dama Gloria, who serves as the Queen Mother. We're going to speak this into existence. As when we speak of African Queen Mother warriors, we're speaking of those women that walk and tried doing this work unapologetically, and it's what we do all the time. It's not like we do it for a job, or we do it for the moment, or we do it for show. This is what we do 365, 366 on leap years, 24/7, that little extra squintet of seconds when the 24 hours is a little extra, and that we do it all the time with the sacred intention. And we're very, very honored to have had the opportunity to trod with her, to break bread with her, to have beverage with her, to be in her space in Charlestown, Portland, Jamaica, while both of us were there. And we're also giving thanks to her beloved husband, spouse, king man, all them terms we use, Gama Akansanya, who in his own realm is a professional, cultural creative, musician, lyricist, artist, keeper of that tradition. And to the Colonel Sharp, who we had a chance to meet and see the educational platform and the Maroon women that have gathered to establish a university in this same space that we're speaking about. And we're encouraging persons, and we will put those links in our various social media pages, because they are raising resources so that they can build out this university and continue to provide educational resources, technological resources, entrepreneurial resources, construction costs, etc., to be able to keep this as a sustainable, permanent, I'm going to say it again, sustainable, permanent space, and a sustainable and permanent university that provides the type of education that our youth and their families and everyone in between is deserving of. So we're very grateful for that. We want to send a special shout out to Sister Queen, to Sister Queen Mother, Ambassador Sharon Oshun Chambers, and her beloved King Man, Baba Theo Chambers again, Empress Isis, Bismillah, who's bringing it up with rootsology, and doing very, very, very serious words of sound and power and support. And we're also looking forward to being able to hear more about the bonfire that's going to be happening tomorrow, and all of the cultural creatives. It was a long list. I don't even think I can recall everybody, but it was a very extensive list of the artists and the cultural tradition bearers and those that have made this work around Charlestown, Maroon Nation community. Notice I said nation first, but I just need people to catch it, that because that's what we're navigating. We're navigating a continuum of nacios, of that which keeps us in that natural space of harmony and balance and truth. What I call ma'at, other people's have to bring up truth, justice, order, reciprocity, balance, divine righteousness, and harmony. And all of that was what we got from that river. That's why I keep saying that river. And I was made to understand, and perhaps because she doesn't film these particular portions, but also today they're being graced, or we're scheduled to be graced by the illustrious Honorable Nana Fofier of the Sankofa community in Jamaica. And through that vibrational shift and enterprising engagement, the ancestors are being asked permission, and the ancestors are being asked for guidance to ensure that the next 365 days are as fruitful, are as prosperous, are as safe, are as secure as possible for the community which everyone is serving. And that brings me to my last point for today. There's been a lot of violence on the earth. Jamaica has had a very serious atrocity that transpired in Clarendon earlier this week, where a mother and her children were found massacred. And we just want to have a moment. And we ask the ancestors and our Almighty Creator by all names to guide and protect those families that are in that very peculiar space of mourning. It's a different kind of grief when it flows like that. And with all these other positive, we've talked about all the positive things that are happening around the globe. And the antithesis of that, the opposite of that transpires right there while we're doing all this great positive work and energy and keeping it light. So we are encouraging everybody to continue to strengthen light over darkness. And I'm not talking about endarkenment, which is powerful. I'm saying light of truth and positivity and love and harmony and unity. Let that squelch, keep low, away from us, all of these other elements that are not bringing light. And we ask that the family and all that are responsible, just of their own volition, they just walk forward, admit to what they've done, and that the authorities can streamline the next course of action accordingly, so that we can return to those spaces of light. I needed to say that because I was hearing Empress Isis. I was just feeling her just now, and I needed, so I want to thank you, Ambassador, Sister Queen Mama, my sister for life, it seems so, Okama, for just bringing up so much energy and light as we have these conversations. I'm very grateful.
Ashe.
I say.
Blessing. Thank you so
And
much.
so listeners, bring it.
Before we go off, I would just like last words is encourage people, because oftentimes when I speak like this, I do stuff. It's towards a charity, and we talked a little bit about it. The only way the healing process can be made more sustainable is by having more durable livelihoods for our community members. The youth are going through terrible times, and we need to find ways for that holistic upbringing again, that it takes the whole community to engage, to empower, to uplift, and ensure that the young people are meaningfully either employed or engaged, whichever way. And I want to link that to what is happening at Charlestown with the summer education program that is coming up. The university is a long-term project, but they're already doing some viable projects, which I would call on everybody out there to support. They have very limited resources, but they continue to educate and engage with those young people for the conservation and protection of the environment, for the growing of their own food, indigenous foods, organic farming, and they empower those young people to be part of the community well-being. And so that project needs support. It needs all of our support, prayers, of course, and sharing light with them, but they need financial support. They need resources in books and other things, in funds. So I would, in finishing,
internet access,
technology.
Right.
So I would like to, just put out a word there. Anybody that would like to support the 8th anniversary of our Queen, our warrior Gama, mother of the earth, in that space. If you want to support her 8th year anniversary and 14th conference of the Maroon people, please contribute. We're going to put out ways you can contribute as a result of this, and other subsequent events we're going to be doing. Some aspect of it will be dedicated to supporting that educational program for the young people in Charlestown. So thank you very much, Sister Doctor.
Yeah, well, we're excited about being able to do this, because a lot of times we come and we think we've got it all organized, and we don't. And I will make sure that in the links that persons see on the website, and you can look at both of our pages, we're putting up the links so that persons can make contributions. Again, there's contributions you can make to the Maroon University. Giving to the university is providing for their summer programs, and that's something that's very immediate. And you can distinguish where you'd like your fund, you can direct where you'd like your contributions to go. There's also the Temple of Inner Peace. They have donations that they're looking for to be able to, again, most of these resources that are being asked for is not even so much for just only operations, but it's also so that persons can maximize what they're doing out of their personal funds and resources, right? And how they can expand on these things. What the Africa Caribbean Heritage Alliance is doing, again, remember that while there are these profit elements that are linked and connected, there's also these charitable, not-for-profit engagements and exchanges, and that needs resources as well. What our Speak does in our consultancy place, yes, it's entrepreneurial, and that's what we're engaged in. However, there's also the Parent Okama University, which is a non-governmental organization, which is not-for-profit, and our focus is to be able to support building institutions like just the 4 that I've mentioned today, right? And this is linked. Notice that we said alliance. Notice that we said association, right? These are linked to other individuals, families, organizations, communities, nations, and societies that are building together. And everyone making their small contribution builds so that we have something substantial to get work done. And that's what I just wanted to highlight. So we will definitely be sharing some of these links. We're encouraging persons that are tuned in and listening to look at some of these links. Let us know how we can better provide other forms of information. And just keep in mind that when we say Caribbean American Heritage, we talking North Pole, South Pole, West Atlantic. How about that? So we're very thank you again, Ambassador Okama. It's been an honor and a privilege, and I'm looking forward to having opportunities with you again soon.
Thank you.
Give thanks. And remember, everybody, culture heals humanity, land is our foundation, and spiritual harmony unifies us. Until our next time, live free, live well, and always, always, always live up and stay safe. Peace.
We are blessed.